All right, so in this video, I'm gonna make a 3-inch weld for you guys and kind of talk through it. Um, it's kind of hard for me to go into detail about the welding part of it, just because for me, welding is it's kind of like you got to feel it too. It's kind of hard to explain some of that, but I can give tips along the way. But let's go ahead and make a 3-inch weld, and I'll talk through it pretty much step by step, the grinding process, tacks, roots. We'll go through it, pretty much everything. So the first thing you got to pay attention to whenever you guys are making a weld is the fit up. The fit up is really crucial. So I like to use a spacer. All it is just a strap that binded pipe together. And I have a couple other ones I use, but this is pretty much the one I've been using. So basically all you're going to do is set it down, put it in, and it makes a nice gap for you, somewhere to start from. Okay, so I'm going to tack this up, and then we'll go from there. Our piece tacked up. That's a tack right there, and this is a tack right here. Now I went ahead and grounded it already. So if we go back to this side, if you look, this will be a start and this will be your stop, which is like a little keyhole, right? So you're going to want to grind your start. The reason you want to grind your start is because this is the coldest point when you first arc your rod, and it's going to build up. It's not going to penetrate yet. So you're going to want to thin that out, so when you come across and you burn into it, you're able to complete the root and actually, tie these both in together. So what it looks like is looks like this. Okay, so we're focusing when we're grinding the tack is we're trying to stay on the tack and work down towards our bevel. Okay, so we're gonna run it here and we're gonna come down, and you're gonna want to make it look like a ramp. Okay, so this is pretty much what it looks like, and like I said, that's a keyhole right there. So when we go to start our weld again, we're gonna start here, let it build up a little bit, and then take off. And then as you push into it, it's going to want to fall back in, and then you're just going to continue to push it through. Now, when you're making your weld, this keyhole is going to want to chase this rod. So if you have a good gap and you have a good temperature, this keyhole is going to want to chase you. And that's a good sign. And everything's going to want to push in and tie in. You're basically trying to make a weld on the inside through the outside. That's what a root is. So let's go ahead and put this root in, and then we'll talk about grinding your root. So this is the root. The root's put in, right? It looks like crap right now just because all of the material wanted to come out that doesn't need to be there, which is all this stuff right here. Now if you look at the inside, you got the root is pushed in, and I'll show you guys how to grind it. So I started grinding this already right here, and I like to make it look clean like this. Right, so I'm going through, and if you can see, I didn't grind through all the way in some spots. So I like to take it down to where I have no wagon marks, and I'll show you what a wagon mark is. So those are wagon marks right there. You have marks on the sides that aren't clean enough yet. So I like to make sure I get those all out. So I'll go through with my grinder and make sure those are all taken out. One thing to remember when taking out these marks is sometimes you might go too deep. So what you need to do is that when you have your wheel on here, pushing down, okay, it might not get the wagon mark out. So you're gonna have to not angle to do it, because you're gonna create an odd angle. You're gonna wanna just push on it this way, okay? Push on it this way or push on it that way while you're grinding, not too much, but that'll help get the wagon wheel out, okay? So I'll finish grinding this up and show you guys what it looks like cleaned up. All right, so this is the root all cleaned up. It should look nice and uniform going through. It should have, it should look pretty clean just like this. I know some guys like to go through and buff all this out. I'm not really concerned about that. I know some guys don't like it this clean, which is fine. It's a personal preference between whichever welder you're working with or welder to welder. So this is how I like mine ground and clean. Now let's go ahead and put the first side of the fill in. This is the first half of my fill I put in. Now, when I start, this is also considered a start. This needs to be ground down as well. At least have a taper on it or a ramp, okay? So I'm gonna grind it and show you guys real quick. So if you guys noticed when I was grinding that, I didn't start down here. I started up higher so that way I can grind deep enough and then tie back into the same height as what I ground for my root. I don't want this to be any deeper and I don't want it to be any higher. I want it to match. I want it to just be like a little ramp. So that to me is good, and we'll go ahead and finish this out, buff it, and then we'll start on the cap. So my fill's done. I got both the walls tied in all the way through, no pin holding on the sides. So then now that's where I started for my other part of my pass. So I'm gonna feather that down. I'm gonna bring it down level to the rest of this. So then now that that's pretty much the same height, I noticed that I have a little dimple right here I want to take care of as well. Address it now so it's not an issue later. Okay. A little bit more. Now it's a good thing to remember whenever you're grinding to try to stay in your bevel, your edge at least, as much as possible. Sometimes you kind of walk yourself out a little bit. It shouldn't be a big deal, because at least for me, when I go to cap right now, I want to make sure I hit both of these again. So I'm going to overlap a little bit anyways. So I'm not too concerned about going way too far out. So just be careful whenever you're grinding and just take care of that. All right, real quick too, another thing is that whenever I go to start this right here, I'm not going to start right here where I ground at, because that's where I had a tie-in point. I want to try to start up here and then work my way into it. Just out of preference for myself, that's just something that I've always done, and this is one thing I wanted to bring up real quick before I put this part of the cap on. All right, so I got the part of my cap on right here, came to a stop there. So same thing again, it's all about repetition. It's the same thing every time. So I have a start point, I need to feather it, I need to grind it down before I continue. So let's go ahead and grind it down and feather it. Same thing here. I want to start up on my weld and work my way down to my fill. And I want to create a little ramp just like that. I want the little black part of the circle to be gone, okay? Same thing here. I got a little bit outside of my bevel. Not a big deal. I'm going to tie into this right now. So let's go ahead and finish this weld. Same thing on my cap. I have a starting point where I started from. So I'm going to go ahead and feather that down as well. Not going to grind it too much. I just wanted to make it look a little bit more uniform. And that's pretty much it. That's how I would make a 3-inch weld right there. You can see the root. The root's all the way in there. Everything's pushed through. Your fill or your hot pass usually help with the root, making it look more even. It's not the prettiest thing out there, but I mean, it works. I've been doing it like this for a while now. So yeah, that's pretty much how I make a 3-inch Schedule 40 weld. If you guys have any questions or anything, or want to go into more detail, or maybe I missed something or anything, you guys that have been doing it a long time, how do you guys do it? You know, give me some ideas. That way people that are watching this video can read the comments and learn from you as well. I think knowledge is key, especially for these new up-and-comers. Guys that are getting out of these welding schools, guys that just want to get out of high school and be a helper, that want to do this industry. I think letting these guys know what's up kind of helps a lot. So if you guys want to comment anything, just comment, man. You know, somebody will read it, might learn from it. So yeah, this is how I do it. Let me know what you guys think. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.